If you just look at the retrospective reports, it looks like the abuse has dropped to almost nothing. And many folk have claimed that it's dropped to almost nothing. But that's really not true. The problem with retrospective reports, as I showed this slide earlier, is not only that it makes the mean look like it's earlier than it is, it makes current abuse look like much less than it is. If you're looking at reports that on average go back 28, 29 years, and you want to know how much abuse is happening today, what do you have to do? You'd have to time travel 28, 29 years into the future and see what reports are being made then about the abuse that's happening today. So you really don't know. It grossly understates the rate of current abuse. And so this is here the trend looking only at current reports of abuse. And you can see that in two things that I want you to see. One is that if you look at the rightmost bar, is very similar to the rate in the 1960s and the early 1970s. It's not accurate to say, well, we have almost no abuse today. We have a similar incidence of abuse as we had back in the late 1960s and in the early 1970s. Second, you can see that in the most recent era, which in this chart is 2010 to 14, we have more abuse than we had in the prior era, in the 2005-2009. If you look more closely, it's even more accentuated. And here I look only at the events that have been reported since 2010 that report abuse that happened since 1990. So we kind of focus in on recent abuse. And here you can see that in 2000 to 2009, you had a very low rate of abuse, and in the most recent period, it has gone up. It's more than double what it was earlier. Here I focus in on this even more, and I'm going to skip a lot of these details, but if you look at the rightmost one, you can see that we have a measurable rate of abuse that is more than it was in the 1958 to 1973 period. Here is recent abuse, and I'm focusing in on it here. And this controls for a number of factors that I won't go into, I do in the paper. But you can see that we have a kind of steady decline since after 2002. It went down to almost nothing, and now the rate is almost monotonically, steadily rising. And so the question is, were we really serious about stopping abuse right after the implementation of the charter, and we have subsequently gotten complacent? That's what it looks like to me. So I looked up the audit reports, which are posted on the bishop's website. And here's from the 2017 audit report. Section 1 is called Tone at the Top, General Complacency. And has a whole laundry list of things that were not done and have started not to be done by bishops and other diocesan leaders who are just not interested in continuing the different actions that would prevent abuse. Francisco Cesario, who's the chairman of our National Review Board, wrote this in his cover letter. The complacency that is emerging seems to suggest that some believe that the sexual abuse of minors by the clergy is now an historic event of the past. Well, the ones who believe that are the bishops. In fact, they're cited widely as saying just that in response to the Pennsylvania grand jury report. And here's their own audit report. It came out last May. This is saying the opposite. He says, this would be an unfortunate conclusion, as the audit report makes evident. And he goes on to talk about a wave of complacency that is leading to increased sexual abuse of children today, this minute, in the Catholic Church. I just want to say this report, it's in the resource folder if you sent the email to get that. It's on the USCCB website. It's the bishop's own audit report. It's saying that up to a fourth of the bishops are doing things that are promoting increased abuse of children today, right now, in the Catholic Church. I haven't seen any media reports or any great expressions of concern about this real present concern here in the Catholic Church today. So I share this with you. If you're somebody that wants to do something about the sex abuse in the church, it might be a good thing to call this attention to the attention of some people who could do this.